Today's quick tech tip is about Insert Learning. So Insert Learning is a free extension that you can add on to your Chrome browser. So you can see all of my extensions up here, but this one is Insert Learning. I'll show you at the end of this how to add that to your extension box. But I want to show you quickly how it works. Insert Learning allows you to take any website that you might want your students to go to, and you can insert notes, questions, post-its, class discussions, things like that right into the website so that it becomes an interactive activity for your students. So I have this little example of if I was teaching my students semicolons. We used to do this as an activity in class, but I could adjust and do this via Insert Learning. So the first tool that I might want to do is insert a question. You can select the tool over here on the side, and then you select where you want to attach that. Because this website is a set of images, I can choose to attach it to this whole image. Then I can type in the question, and I can type in the question for my students, and then they would just have a box there when they go to the website, and I'll show you that in a moment. You also have a series of question stems that they provide. So I found this pretty handy because a lot of the things that you're going to have students do are about prediction or reading, identifying the main idea. So you can pull from these stems to get a sense of some of your main things. If you're ready to do that, I already have the what is the key text, or you can add your own thing. You just hit create, and then you will have a question. You can see I've created two, so you could have more than one question. You can also go back and edit and go, oh, I asked the same question twice. I want to delete this one. You can also add discussion questions. That's this box over here, insert a discussion. And you can see I've already inserted a discussion for my class. You can choose which classes have this discussion question. So in theory, you could use the same website assignment, but ask different classes slightly different discussion questions. So I'll just have this set so it goes to all of my classes, and I've just asked a general open-ended question to get students thinking about how semicolons affect how you read or interact with a sentence. So this will be a discussion that all of the students will be able to see each other's posts right here on the website. Next, there's this little sticky note tool, and it works just like a sticky note would. You can put post-it notes on the text. So again, because my text is a series of images, I can click on just this whole block. If you're on a different type of website, you can select chunks of texts. So you can see that I've used the sticky note to remind my students, you should now be following good brain research. You need to write this information down. We know from all kinds of research that just reading something doesn't make it sticky in our heads. And so I've used this sticky note to remind students to make their learning sticky by writing it in their writing journal. Note, with the sticky notes, there's nothing for the students to interact with. This is simply you pointing something out to them. I could see this being very helpful if an article had a particularly difficult word that there wasn't a definition in the article or on the site. You could define that for your students so they didn't waste time being confused. Or if a resource was using a slightly different term than what you use in your classroom, you could add a sticky note to remind them, yes, they're saying X, but it's the same thing as what we've been talking about in our classroom when we talk about Y. So again, I have another little sticky note. You can see that there's a little camera on the sticky note as well. When you go in to edit that, you do have to make sure your pop-ups are not blocked, but you can make a little recording to remind your students or to explain something right here on the website. As I continue down, in part just because this is an entertaining little thing, when I get to the pause, I've inserted another question. So again, I've just used the insert question feature, but instead of an open-ended question, to make it a multiple choice question, after you've added your first option, you will get this add another choice. You simply click in the box and then you can make it a multiple choice question right here in the website. At the end of the lesson, at the end of what I want students to learn about semicolons, in this instance, there's a very clear ending that says the end. I have one last class discussion question where I've asked them to write their own example of a sentence using a semicolon. There would be all kinds of end review reflection questions that you could put on something like this. So some pretty simple little tools. You can also add some highlighting, again, because of the nature of this example where it was a series of images. The highlighting didn't work on this particular website, but I can do sticky notes, insert a question, insert a discussion. You can see that I then also have these additional options to assign to students, share, that I can view it as a student. So that's what we're going to do right now so that you can get a sense of what a student is going to see. So when I'm in here as a student, you can see that I'm just at the website, but now I have this question. What is the keyword in the text above? And then I can write my response. This one was a pretty easy question, so hopefully my students get this response. The students continue scrolling down, and again, I can add in my response to this prompt. And then the rest of the class would be able to see this. And now you can see, as the teacher, you would see the student's name and their response, and you would just get a list of all the responses. I can read the post-its. I have the post-its. I can continue scrolling through. I get to my multiple choice. And you can see that this has randomized my options. So when I made this as a teacher, this was the first option, but it's been randomized for me as the student. So I can choose the answer, and then I continue scrolling through, and I have my final reflection. When I am ready to assign this, I simply click on the Insert Learning tab right at the top. And then this talks to my Google Classrooms automatically. So you can import your classrooms here and select which classes that you want to send that to, or you can grab that link and post that then up to your SharePoint page or whatever else you're using if you're not using Google Classroom in order to have this. So on a different website, just to review those tools, you can highlight the text, which allows you to actually just do that, to highlight that text. You can also enter a comment right from there. You can insert a sticky note, so you can highlight a whole chunk of text and give your students a little reminder. You can see you could paste YouTube links, embed codes. You can really paste anything here. So you could certainly make this an interactive web quest if you had one basic document and then you wanted them to go see a different explanation and then come back to this. You could put a YouTube link here that explains this portion of the Constitution or explains whatever context, or provides a different opinion of something. So you're reading one article or you're looking at one site, but you want to show them an opposing viewpoint. You could put that in here, and then you could insert a question after this and instruct them, watch the above video link. Now compare, how does the text of this paragraph compared to what the video is saying. Explain the similarities and differences. Who do you trust? You could certainly dive into a lot of different questions on that. You can also add in a discussion. So again, you can select any chunk of the website. You can see that when I had the highlighter, it let me highlight individual lines. When I'm using the discussion question, it will highlight a whole chunk and attach that discussion to a little paragraph and throw it in there. Again, when you're ready to assign, you hit the Assign button, you select the classes that you want to assign to, and then that will show up on that classroom. If we go to my Google Classroom, this was the class with whom I shared this assignment. You can see that it shows up on the main page here. And I obviously, as the teacher, I now can edit this assignment if I did want to change who received it. But students then would be able to go in here and they would open that website, that web assignment. And again, it's right here for the students. Takes a moment to load, but you can see they then have that assignment right there, right from the Google Classroom site. There are two ways you can add Insert Learning. You can go to insertlearning.com, and right here you can click the giant green button that says Add to Chrome. This will add it again to your extension list. That's this area up here at the top of your Chrome browser. You can see I have a lot of different little extensions up here, but you'll have the Insert Learning, and that way it's just right at your fingertips, so that if you are browsing something online and you're like, oh, I do want to have this for my students, you can capture that right here. Or you can go to the Chrome Web Store. So if you type in Insert Learning extension into a Google search, it will come up here for you. You will have a button that says Add to the Chrome browser. Since I've already added it, mine gives me the option to remove from Chrome if I wanted to. So that's Insert Learning. If you do try out Insert Learning, please let us know how it goes, how it works with your students, what you're finding is particularly effective. I have noticed that if the website has a lot of different content on it, I tried to use Insert Learning on a National Geographic website that had a lot of subpages and a lot of images, and I found it harder to use. It was a little bit more confusing. I didn't feel like things stuck where I wanted them to. So it seems to work better on pages that are a bit more simple. But I could see all kinds of applications for this in the classroom and to make learning more interactive and more dynamic as students are exploring content. So share your ideas, share how you're using this, share reactions that your students are having, and I hope that this helps you insert more learning into your classroom.